Living Adventurously is brought to you in partnership with Komoot, the route planning and navigation app that helps you make the most of your outdoor adventures. Whether you're cycling, hiking, running, or bike packing, Komoot's easy-to-use technology will get you out the door and exploring more of the great outdoors. You can see where I've been exploring by checking out the highlights of my journey on Komoot. Just follow the link in the show notes. My name is Alistair Humphreys. I set out on a bicycle journey around Yorkshire to speak to interesting, ordinary people who, in very different ways, are making an effort to live adventurously. I wanted to talk about what they do, about the barriers they've faced along the way, and to seek their perspective on some of the big questions that all of us encounter in our lives. Welcome to Living Adventurously. I've written here, needs intro music. Okay, here we go. That'll do. Tim lives on the outskirts of Leeds, not far from Headingley Cricket Ground. I cycled to his house for a coffee and to chat about Adventurous Inc. Adventurous Inc. is Tim's plan to deliver the outdoors to your front door in the form of monthly, carefully curated books or magazines. He's on a mission to help folk live fulfilling outdoor lives whilst minimising their environmental impact as they go. And Tim is clearly passionate about this mission, so much so he's even got the Adventurous logo tattooed right down his forearm. That is commitment. Right. Should we begin?
Let's go for it.
Slurp of coffee. Okay, I'm sitting in Tim's kitchen. He's been force feeding me coffee. And my first question for you, Tim. It's Wednesday morning. Why are you not at work? You layabout.
Because some crazy guy who cycled around the world threatened to come for a cup of tea.
Am I distracting you from earning some money?
You are distracting me from earning some money. No, not really. The reason I can do this is because I, as well as working part-time, I run my own business called Gather Outdoors. So I did that so that I could spend, so I had a good excuse for doing more outdoor adventure-y stuff. And that was basically the reason. Oh, that and meeting cool people, like your good self. No, you're very much up there. But genuinely, that was one of the reasons why I started the business, was to meet cool people who are doing interesting stuff, because that's what life's all about, really, isn't it?
So if your job now involves you sitting around drinking coffee, being outdoors, and meeting cool people, do people give you grief for that you're just a layabout and you should have a proper job?
I don't think other people give me that much grief, but I give myself a lot of grief. It doesn't feel like proper working. It should feel like a hardship, and it isn't. But that's a choice that I made. You know, I kind of hit that point in my life, that midlife crisis, and like lots of other folk, I decided that I wanted to do something that was more fulfilling and that made me feel better. So yeah, started a business like you do.
Do you find it hard running your own business? Do you find it hard to switch off and relax and not do it? Do you feel this of Anglo-Saxon work ethic to be always?
Not anymore. So at first I did, and I would spend every hour on Instagram, because that's where our most of our community are. But I'm one of those lucky people. I'm quite good at compartmentalizing stuff, so I can pretty much put it in a box and put it to one side. So yeah, I'm lucky like that. Okay,
that is a good thing of which I'm useless. So Gather Outdoors, now Adventurous Inc. They sort of under the same hat, I suppose.
Yeah, it's the same loose banner.
Okay. So it's the summary would be simple ways for nature lovers to soften their environmental footprint and find great things to do. Does that still hold true for what you're trying to do?
No, that
moved on.
It sounds a very laboured way. No, the honest answer is what I'm trying to do is rewild myself and rewild other people at the same time.
Okay, and how do you do that?
Well, by reading lots of books. That's the top and bottom of it. So I remember when I was growing up, I got into mountain biking and climbing by reading an awful lot of mountain biking and climbing journals. And so I guess that's the way that I try and help others now, is by serving up a regular dose of inspiration in the form of some nice printed material that hopefully gets more people outdoors.
And do you think reading books is the solution to life's problems?
Probably.
Oh,
yeah.
Good. I was hoping you'd say that, because that's what I think.
Well, you would say that as an author. You've kind of nailed your colours to that particular mast, haven't you?
Well, I suppose I always feel an imposter saying that I'm an author, even though I've written quite a few books now. But what I do always say is that I'm a reader, and I feel that any kind of writing I do is mostly because I like reading.
That's a good way of thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think anything useful I've learned in life, I've probably learned either from reading a book or having a miserable time in the outdoors. I think they're the two best educations.
There you go.
So going back in time a bit, you used to love the outdoors. Then you kind of lost your way and went off to do whatever normal grown-up real life. How did you go? So one of the things I'm really interested in through talking to lots of people on this. Oh, I've got the same mug as that. Oh. One of the things I'm really...
Has it got a T on it?
Yeah.
Why have you got a T on it?
I have no idea. I like
Surely
tea.
it should have an A.
Yeah, I like tea. Sorry, I'm so rubbish at this. One of the reasons that I'm interested in talking to people here is people who have got this, they're doing this in life, but they kind of think, it's not quite what I want to be doing. What I want to be doing in life is that. And I think that pretty much applies to all of us. We're here, but we want to be there. How do you go about moving from one to the other? And how did you specifically find your way back to the outdoors?
I think the first step in that is realising that something's not right. And it's quite easy to drift through life just on this trajectory that you always thought you were on, or the career that you always thought you wanted. And for me, I guess as I was coming up on 40, I kind of realised that career that I'd been on wasn't making me happy, and kind of cast around for what it was that used to make me happy, and it was the outdoors. And so I started kind of thinking about that as a route to being happier, and that maybe starting a business might be a way to sort of kill two birds with one stone, because work wasn't feeling particularly fulfilling at the time. And then my dad passed away. I'm not very good at talking about it, really. It's all right. It's a good thing. But my dad and I spent all our time together outdoors, so that was our thing. That was the thing that bonded us. And I think when I found out that he was dying, I reflected more about what he thought about me and who he expected me to be. And I think he probably had a better, more realistic expectation of what I could have been than I was living for myself. So he never saw that I started a business. He never saw the change, which it's always a bit sad. But life happens around you, and you've got to respond to it. And when you get to the point where the stimulus is big enough, then you need to do something about it. That's the top and bottom of it. And I started running a business part-time on the internet because it was quite easy to do. And it's brought me a lot of happiness. Not brought me a huge amount of money, but it's brought me an awful lot of happiness.
Well, there are very different things in life, money and happiness, and I think often we confuse the two, don't we?
Yeah, I think we view money as a route to happiness, and anyone who's ever looked at this in any depth probably realises that it's almost never a route to happiness.
Yeah. You need a chunk, and then you need to go do your thing.
Yeah. More money isn't always going to make you happier.
So when you were planning to start this adventurous internet business, what were you worried about? What were the things in your head that would make you think, I shouldn't be doing this?
Oh, massive imposter syndrome. you can't do that because you've not worked in retail, or you've not been in the outdoor industry, or you've been away from the outdoors for a long time. So there was a whole heap of that. But I guess I'd spent enough time with enough people who told me that that's how everyone feels, and that shouldn't be a burden and a barrier. And so I think I probably pushed through that fairly easily. I guess I've always been someone who was sort of determined by what I thought of myself more than what other people's validation. So as long as I was happy with it, then I guess I had this sense that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think the more time you spend around people who tell you about imposter syndrome in their life, the more you think, oh, okay, this isn't just me. It is literally everyone. Mm-hmm. So that's then quite a liberating superpower. I think, we all think we're idiots, but we should just get on and do something anyway. What were there any other barriers that were stopping you taking the plunge?
No, I don't think there were really, because I'm a great believer in what you don't know you can learn by doing. And I could have spent a long time researching it and writing fabulous business plans, or I could have just ploughed into it and built a website and then started seeing how people responded. So that's what I did. And this is where I am. I wouldn't claim it's been a massive success, but it's, like I say, it makes me happy.
And what mistakes did you make which you have learned from by not doing a business plan and just leaping in?
Well, there was the famous Nosemity hashtag, which seemed like a good idea at the time, when I had 1,000 sweatshirts printed up with the word Nosemity on them, and then planned a big advertising campaign with lots of other outdoor brands about the UK is a great place and you don't have to go to Yosemite. And then Instagram pointed out that Nosemity also looks like no Semite.
Okay, and also nose mite.
Yeah. So Instagram blocked it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we couldn't use the hashtag. So I very, very quickly had to change the printing on all of these sweatshirts that were being made mid-production, so that they said something that would be vaguely marketable on Instagram.
Wow. Okay.
So that was quite a big. But I guess other things went well. Like so coming up with a name, Gather Outdoors, kind of always seemed to make sense. And then the fact that the URL was available and all the social medias were available, it kind of was a good sign that, the universe is smiling upon this and sort of pointing you in the right direction. I guess the other mistake that I've made along the way is tried to do too much and not focused on doing one thing well. And that's why at the moment Gather Outdoors is really just about Adventurous Inc., our subscription scheme, because oddly, I don't really like selling people stuff. I think we've all got way too much stuff. So even if it's stuff with my logo and my brand on it, probably people don't need it. Whereas I think about books and journals and outdoor inspiration, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't need any more inspiration to get outdoors. I think we all need it. So sort of philosophically, that's the area that I've landed on that makes me feel most fulfilled.
So you have Adventurous Inc., which is a book subscription service. Once a month, you get a book or a journal or a magazine that you've chosen, which you think will reconnect people, inspire them, get them out to explore. I love the idea of a book landing on my doormat every month to read. That's exactly the sort of thing that I love. We've talked about this before, that I actually need a slightly different service. I want maybe fictional, I want a world that I'm not familiar with. But I'm imagine that the people who are reading your books are just looking to get out, perhaps for the first time, perhaps more experienced. But what are you hoping that people will get from the thunk of the books landing each month?
I'm hoping that they gain a greater connection to the natural world, really. I think that's the top and bottom of it. And I think the modern day life experience kind of insulates us from nature and the natural world, like the weather. and prevailing conditions and distance and all those things that for most of humanity's life we've been very well used to. And I think we've evolved to deal with that, and kind of cocooning us from all that isn't good for our health and well-being. And so I hope with the books and journals that we send out, it helps people gain some reconnection to that. And I think reading printed material is also a good way of connecting with that, because, you know, it's not like your phone. It's not going to buzz. You're not 2 clicks away from Instagram. It's not tracking what you're looking at so that they can sell you something on the back of it. You can take it wherever you haven't got a Wi-Fi signal. So, you know, it's great for reading in a bothy. So I think for many, many reasons, an immersive book or a journal that you can take away with you and really get into is just a great way of getting you outdoors more. And that's always what I've been trying to do with Gather.
Yeah, and also a book in a bothy is very good for lighting fires.
As long as you start with the first few pages, the ones you've already read.
And toilet paper. I've used books for many purposes. Do people have time to read one book a month? We're so busy. Do we have time to read a book?
Of course people have time to read a book a month. The question is whether they make time. Okay. And I guess this goes back to one of those things about the insidious nature of mobile phones, and they're always there sucking up a little bit of our time. And we think it's kind of, I remember when I got mine and it was like, oh, I'll never be bored again. But you just get this average mild satisfaction with everything, as opposed to experiencing kind of the highs and lows, the lows of being bored and the highs of watching the sun peek out from behind the clouds when you've been walking all the way for a long way into town rather than getting the bus. You know, these are proper experiences that I think give us the sort of mental health and well-being that a lot of people are craving in this day and age.
Yeah, most books take 5 to 10 hours to read, and that is equivalent to 10 to 20 minutes a day, which is far less time than most of us, myself included, spend watching videos of kittens. It's one thing that I'm really enjoying on this bike ride is a deliberate month of being off the internet, being off media. I haven't actually even got a book for a month, which is very unusual for me, but yeah, I'm enjoying that side of things. One of the things I'm doing riding around is I've got a deck of cards with some questions that I'm trying to solve in my life. Oh, actually, before I get your wisdom, I want to ask about one more thing, which is a lot of people have businesses and they think, yeah, I'm committed to this. Can you tell me about the commitment to your business and your tattoo, which I can see now, because that is impressive dedication.
Yeah, I have a large tattoo that says "Adventurous" all down my forearm, and it's the logo from Adventurous Inc., which a lovely lady called Jules Birkby designed for me. It's a beautiful calligraphy script, and yeah, ever since the first time I saw it, I kind of always had this inkling that I was going to get it tattooed. So yeah, now I'm stuck with this great big business logo down my arm. So time will tell whether I look back and point at this as the failed business venture that I once did, or whether it's something else. But either way, I'm kind of really proud of it, and I like folk to look at it and go, oh, that's strange. He's got Adventurous written down his arm. I wonder why that is, because I think I've always liked a bit about external manifestation of what's inside me, and I guess that's what that is.
Okay, it's a declaration to yourself.
Yeah, well, one of many. I mean, some of my other tattoos. I've got one here that says "Long Time Dead," which was yeah, a reminder to myself, a bit of memento mori that one day we're all going to die. So life is about living.
You better get on with it. Yeah. Well,
come on then. What?
Perhaps in that note, you could take a card, any card, and if you don't want to answer the question, you don't have to. But interested to get your opinion.
Let's have a look. What small thing do you do regularly which greatly improves your life? Walk places and look at things, not my phone. So I don't mean walk great distances. I mean, I might park my car 5 minutes further away from somewhere where I'm going.
Deliberately?
Yeah. Because, I just think everyone is obsessed about parking outside something and not exposing themselves to a moment's discomfort, when actually it's not discomfort, it's life that you're missing out on. So I try and walk a bit more and look a bit more, and take life in as I'm going around.
One thing I've started to do, which is so pathetic, is when I'm waiting for a train or the tube in London, and you have to stand there for 1, 2, 5 minutes. It's often not more than that. Is I ban myself from looking at my phone.
Yeah, I exactly the same.
And my question then is, can I stand still for 5 minutes and just look around? And the fact that I find it so stupidly hard suggests it's probably a good thing for me to be persevering with.
No, I do exactly the same. I think we all need those pauses when you just take stuff in and don't have it thrown at the back of your retina by a glowing screen.
Right, next question.
Oh,
there's plenty. We'll do a few minutes of these.
All right.
Till I need a wee, then we'll stop.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you? I would probably say quite weird. I don't think I've ever been someone who particularly fits in. Yeah. But I'm a bit of a social chameleon as well, so I can sort of fit into most places, but deep down, I guess I'm a little bit different to everyone. So, we're at a scale of 1 to 10. I think an 8.5.
Oh, you're the weirdest person I've met so far.
Oh, really?
In their own opinion, which is interesting because looking at you, you're wearing a nice clean T-shirt. We've got some cactus pots. I've got the same teapot as that. You got a sort of trendy fridge and the coffee thing and a microwave, and this looks very nice but normal. Yesterday, I interviewed a guy who's pushing a homemade raft from Liverpool to London. It's taken him 7 years, and he was dressed a bit like Where's Wally? And I asked him how weird he was, and he was a bit indignant. He's like, I'm not weird. So I find it really interesting that the difference between external so-called weirdness and what we see inside ourselves.
Yeah. I guess it's all about context and being able to see other bits of normality. Maybe he doesn't see quite as much normality as I do to compare himself with. I don't know.
And also, what is normal?
Yeah. There's a question.
Next question.
Oh, gosh, we're still going. Let's look at the bottom one. What's the bottom one? In the last 5 years, what new belief, behaviour or habit has most improved your life? Running. That is the top and bottom of it, running. So before I started Gather, I used to be a martial arts instructor. And it was one of those parts of my life that had kind of picked up whilst I wasn't really noticing. And I started doing taekwondo and then started being a teacher. So great exercise. But I knew that something had to give and it was going to be that. And so I was desperate to take up running in its place. And when I first started, I thought, this is never going to work because my knees hurt. And then someone told me about barefoot running. And all of a sudden, I was running on the balls of my feet and I had no knee pain. And it's been brilliant. And every time I'm slugging up the side of a mountain, huffing and puffing and thinking I'm not going to make it, I go back to, and that's why we do all this running just to get you out there. So definitely running.
Do you run barefoot or in those sort of thin little shoes?
In the thin little shoes, yeah. I'm not that brave.
You're not Anna McNuff?
No.
You're not totally weird?
No. I have seen the state of her feet at the moment, no.
Okay, running, that's a good one. Next one.
Let's do the top one if we've done the bottom one. What is enough? Oh, wow. What is enough? I think there's a question that is very salient, really. And I think it relates to me starting a business in my midlife with a family and a mortgage and all that sort of stuff. And it meant that basically our income basically disappeared down to nothing. But it made me realise everything that we do have and all the stuff that we've wasted in the past. So I think once you've got a roof over your head and some emotional support, often in the form of a family, but whatever, and food on the table, really beyond that, that's probably enough, and anything else is good, but it's too easy just to think that there's never enough and that you should always go out and earn that extra pound. But I guess what's the cost of doing that? So I've learnt about balance and how much is enough, really.
And when your income dropped massively, did you worry that your friends, family, granny, neighbours would tut and disapprove of you?
No, not really. I think the one thing when friends would meet for a coffee or a beer and stuff like that was the time when we'd have to make excuses. And it didn't bother me about having to make excuses, but more my wife and her not being able to meet friends for a coffee or take the kids out for an ice cream or something. I think that was the worst bit. It was the deprivation I was forcing on the family rather than kind of what other people thought about us. But we're all highly appreciative of when we do have things now. So I think that's been a good thing as well. It's not all been a downside of not having much money.
Yeah, that does sound like a good thing. Next one, do a few more.
Let's have a look. Tell me about making the most out of life. Well, I mean, this is the same question again, isn't it? I think making the most of life means living it to the full and recognizing when you're slipping into a little fur-lined rut and then doing your best to climb out of it. For me, that's the top and bottom. And life, and particularly modern life, is a way of trying to cosset and comfort you into this little fur-lined rut.
I've never heard that phrase before. That's a good one.
So yeah, getting out of that fur-lined rut, or recognizing you're in it, and then clamoring to get out. I think that's about living.
That's a good summary.
We've done the weird. Oh, look at that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you? It hasn't changed in the past 5 minutes. If you could magically change one thing in your life, what would it be? What would it be? I honestly don't think I would change anything, because I think if you magically change something, I don't think you'd really appreciate what you got out the other side of it.
That's the point, the magic part of that question, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think you need to work at anything, and I think I'm working at making a better life for me and the family now, and that's the magic rather than someone waving a wand.
That's a good summary. So what I like about that question is that the magic word gives you permission to dream of the thing. Then once you dream of the thing, the reality is then you need to take some action to go do it. And the stages of doing it is often more interesting than the end bit, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it reminds me of your phrase, the doorstep mile. I've always thought that, I tell that to the kids quite a lot. It's kind of just getting over that initial hurdle. It seems the biggest, but actually once you've done it, that's behind you and you're away, aren't you?
Yeah, it's very, very liberating. The other thing I find interesting about something like the bike trip I'm on now is having some totally pointless notional end goal. I'm going to cycle around Yorkshire. Big deal. The interesting part is all the stuff that happens along the way, and the times when I get lost and have to turn down that route. And I ask that old granny for something and she takes me in for a cup of tea. That's the interesting part of either a bike ride or of life, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we'll do a couple more.
Right. Let's have a look. What is a good decision you've made in life? What can that teach me about making decisions? I think given that you're on a tour of Yorkshire, one of my favourite decisions was to move back up to Yorkshire from living in the Midlands, where I'd gone to university and where my wife joined me. And it's kind of because it feels like home in a way that the Midlands never did, even though we were there for sort of 10 years. And I think that probably says something about places that you feel comfortable with and people you feel comfortable with. So yeah, moving back up north, I definitely think has been one of the best things we did. Not least because it saved everyone from me being the professional Yorkshireman abroad, which was
Moaning
probably
and chuntering.
Yeah, it's probably getting a bit wearing.
Okay. Well, I think that sounds like a good note to end on, the call to action that everyone should come live in Yorkshire.
Absolutely.
Good place. I definitely agree with that. Tim, thank you very much for meeting me. Well, for letting me come to your house, give me some coffee, very nice coffee, and thank you also for the support you've given me with the Adventurous Inc. and for encouraging more people to get outdoors. All very good things.
No, that's
Thank you.
Like I say, it's it makes me happy, and hopefully it makes other people happy as well.
That's a pretty good tagline. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Living Adventurously. There's show notes from every episode on my website, alistairhumphreys.com/podcast. If you have enjoyed it, please take a screenshot of your phone and pop it up on social media, or leave a review with your podcast provider. It makes a massive difference. Thank you very much. To make this podcast happen, I teamed up with Komoot, the outdoor planning and navigation app that helps you explore more of the great outdoors. One of the many ways Komoot helps you have better adventures is through their highlights feature. Komoot highlights are recommendations from local adventurers in the area you want to explore. They could be a great cafe, a particularly beautiful stretch of trail, a lookout point, or a well-stocked shop. These recommendations appear on the map as highlights, large red dots for popular highlights, those with lots of additional information and images, or small red dots for highlights that have fewer comments and images. Inside a hint, the size of the dot doesn't necessarily correspond to the quality of the highlight in real life. It only indicates how many people have visited the highlight before you. Perhaps it's a little less visited and therefore all the more special. Your very own outdoor experiences and some inspiring highlights are waiting for you. Go explore more with Komoot. Head to komoot.com/G and use the voucher code Adventurous to claim your free region bundle.